Hi, my name is Nicholas, and welcome to this week's Hatha practice. As far as props for today, I suggest having a bolster or some kind of a plump, firm pillow. And then a soft block normally comes in handy, maybe a couple hard blocks as well, and then anything else you like to have around. And I'll invite you to get started in restorative fish pose for today. So if you want to place the bolster lengthwise down the mat, and eventually we'll come to sit just in front of it and lie the spine down onto the bolster. So if you're familiar with the shape and you know that you like to kind of play around with the adjustments, then you might go ahead and do that. If you know you're on the taller side, then you might choose to have an extra hard block near the top of the mat to rest the head on. I will offer butterfly legs for this expression, so if you know you want a little support for the knees, then you can use a couple hard blocks by the sides. And when you're ready, you can come to sit down in front of your bolster and then slowly lower the spine down onto it. Really take your time to get set up. If the pillow you're using is on the plumper side, then maybe it's a little steep for the low back, in which case you might bring in an extra soft block for under the bum. It might make it a little more comfortable here. If you are choosing butterfly legs, then soles of the feet together, knees nice and wide, and props wherever you need them. And take your time to get settled in here. If there's any other adjustment you need to make, then go for it. And see where the arms want to be as well. They can be anywhere on the body or beside it. It might feel nice to take the arms wide here, giving the chest, the shoulders a little more stretch. And if it feels okay to close down your eyes, then go for it. And as you settle to your stillness here, start to bring your attention to your breath, noticing your inhales and your exhales. If you notice that the mind has started to wander, see if you can bring it back to your breath. And as you feel ready, gently invite the breath to start to deepen here. Finding those full, expansive inhales and those long, smooth exhales. if you would benefit from staying in stillness a little while longer, then you're welcome to. Otherwise, when you feel ready to move the body, you can reach down, and if the knees are apart, you can use the hands to bring them together. And from here, roll down to one side. Wherever you have the most room, you can push your props out of the way. And then moving the bolster off to one side, come to lying flat on the back. You can take the feet wide apart and gently windshield wiper the knees side to side a couple of times. Awesome. When you're ready, you can bring your feet back into center. Feet roughly underneath the knees, and have your bolster close by for this one. And press the feet down, lift the hips just enough that you can slide the bolster underneath the pelvis. And find the spot that feels the most comfortable for you. Generally think more upper bum area than spine. And then from here, if this feels good, then you can stay exactly here. Otherwise, think about extending the legs long down the mat, finding a bit of a front body stretch here, a little stretch for the hip flexors as well. And you might keep the hands to the pelvis, just adding a little weight and grounding there. If the feet want to flop out or in, you can relax them, let them do their own thing. Last few deep breaths here. Awesome. And then if the legs are extended, you can slowly start to walk the feet back in. Lift the hips just enough to slide your bolster out, and then you can bring the bolster between the legs. And we'll set up for a twist here, so scoot the hips to the left a few inches and then let the knees come down to the right. It's still early in practice, so this may not be as deep an expression as you'd find later on. If the left shoulder is having a hard time grounding, that's not a bad thing, but if you'd like it to be able to touch into something, then maybe bring your soft block nearby, and you can use that for extra support. Any arm expression you like, maybe a T shape or cactus here. And if you like to take the gaze away from the knees, then go for it. Now squeeze the bolster between your legs, and with an inhale, lift the knees back up to center. And then scoot the hips to midline, then over to the right a few inches, and let the knees come down to the left for your second side. And see if this side needs something a little different. And feel free to use your props differently. And maybe taking the gaze down to the right and take a few deep breaths into your twist. And then bring the head to center, squeeze the bolster, and bring the legs and the hips back to center. You can move your bolster off to the side. Awesome. And then from here, you can keep the knees bent, at least to begin with. We'll keep the right foot down, but bring the left knee into the chest. And take a deep inhale here. Feel the chest balloon up. As you exhale, a gentle hug of the knee towards the left shoulder. And again, like that, inhale, fill up. And exhale, left knee towards left shoulder. 3 more rounds like this, and you're welcome to extend that right leg if you feel ready to. Last one. Awesome. You can stay exactly here, or we'll set a half happy baby. You can bring the left arm to the inside of the left leg, catch hold of the foot, the ankle, or the shin, and bring the left foot like it's standing on the ceiling. Notice if the right side of the pelvis is trying to lift, then maybe the right hand can help anchor it. You can choose stillness here, but it might feel nice to take a rock side to side. Awesome. As you're ready, gently release that left foot, lower the left foot to the floor. You can start with the knee bent and bring the right knee in towards the chest. Catch hold with the hands. Deep inhale, feel the chest puff up. And exhale, right knee towards the right shoulder. And again. And last few, you may choose to extend the left leg. Awesome. And then you can stay here or reach the right arm through, catch hold of foot, ankle, shin, right foot towards the ceiling. Stillness or rock side to side. Awesome. From here, tighten up the core. You can start by bending the left leg. We'll head towards happy baby, so you can keep the right side as it is, and then bring the left leg back up. Catch back hold of the left foot. And then see what this feels like. And again, it's still relatively early in practice, so maybe stillness or rock side to side. You could play with extending one leg a little bit, see what the hamstring feels like, then the other. Take about 8 to 10 breaths, stillness or any movement that feels good here. Mindful of the low back, that it feels supported. Awesome. And then collect both knees into your chest and bring the hands behind the knees. Start to rock up and down the length of the spine. And as you're ready, building up some momentum, and you can come up towards a seat, but we won't stay. So swing the legs around and come to a tabletop position. Hands roughly underneath the shoulders and knees roughly underneath the hips. From here, as you're ready, with an inhale, let the belly sag down, lift the heart space in the tailbone. And as you exhale, press the hands to the floor and dome the upper back. And then keep going with your breath at your pace, maybe closing down the eyes. And scanning the body as you move here. And if you come across a space that feels a little sticky, you might pause and breathe into it. If your body's asking for anything extra, feel free to add on as well. If you've added something on that has two sides or two directions, we're here for about 5 more breaths, so just make sure you feel even on both. And in your next inhale, coming back to center, we're going to stay on the knees a little while longer, so if you need to add a fold to the mat or a blanket for padding, then go for it. And keep the hips roughly on top of the knees, and then walk the hands forward. We'll head towards puppy dog pose. And so reaching the hands forward, start to let the chest, the chin, the nose start to dip towards the floor. If the floor feels a little far away, feel free to bring in a prop in for extra support. And keep the hands active for this one, so keep the fingers engaged, pressing into the floor. And then slowly start to lift the head, start to walk the hands back in. Bring the hands roughly underneath the shoulders, spread the fingers nice and wide apart. And from here, we'll tuck the toes, lift the knees, and press the hips up and back to downward facing dog. And pedaling the heels will probably feel good here. Stretch out the calves, the back lines of the legs. Maybe sway the hips a little side to side. And feel free to exaggerate this pedaling, this movement in any way that feels good. And you can also pause anywhere along the way. As you're ready, come and find your stillness. And keep the hands pressing into the floor. Keep the shoulders broad, the head heavy. And together, a deep inhale here. And a sigh. And again. Last one. And then inhale, bend your knees deeply, look forward. As you exhale, you can step or walk your feet to a forward fold at the top of the mat. Maybe a generous bend to the knees for this first fold. Let the spine hang heavy. Maybe a nod, yes and no with the head, releasing the neck. If you like, maybe hand to opposite elbow, adding a little weight for the spine here. Maybe a gentle sway side to side. If you have a bind, you can release it. Bring the hands somewhere to the legs. With an inhale, find a halfway lift, lengthen the spine. As you exhale, sigh it out, fold in. And again, inhale, lengthen. And let it go. Inhale. And exhale. Last one. Now inhale, find your halfway lift, pause here with the exhale, and press the feet down, lengthen, tailbone to crown, inhale, and stay, exhale. And now to transition, inhale, lengthen. As you exhale, bend the knees, sink the hips, and we'll come to chair pose. So hands can stay on the lap if you want more support. Otherwise, hands to prayer if it's okay for shoulders, for neck, maybe arms forward or up towards the ceiling. So find your version of the shape. If you need to adjust something in your stance, then go for it. Maybe you have space to bend the knees a little deeper still. And breathe here. Notice the low back. See if you can hug the belly, especially if it feels like the low back is in a deep back bend. Last few deep breaths. All right, take a deep inhale. As you exhale, hinge forward, back to your forward fold. Halfway lift to lengthen. As you exhale, plant the palms and step to plank pose, top of a push-up. Knees can be lifted or lowered. Hands stay active to the floor. If the knees are lifted, feet stay really active too. And take a deep inhale. As you exhale, lower down to the belly. Untuck the toes, cobra pose, inhale. Hands soften, exhale. And 2 more. Awesome. Inhale, tabletop. And pause here. And you can adjust. Knees back underneath the hips. And this time we'll drop the forearms down to the floor. In my body, it feels better to have the hands together. If in your body it feels better to keep the forearms parallel, then go for that. Either way, the elbows are roughly underneath the shoulders. Awesome. Once you feel set up, once the shoulders feel adequately supported, when you're ready, you can step one foot and then the other to the back of the mat for your forearm plank. Knees can lower if you want more support, except now they'll be behind the hips. If the knees are lifted, then keep the legs really active. Find that length from the heels out towards the crown of the head. Gaze is towards the floor. Deep inhale here. And then stay for the exhale. And again. Last full breath. All right, take a deep inhale. As you exhale, start to walk the feet in, lift the bum high for your dolphin pose. Think of down dog, but on the elbows. And then imagine that you're pressing the elbows to the floor. See if that gives you a little more room across the chest, maybe a little more height for the hips. Just like in down dog, you can have a slight bend to the knees. And if you like a little movement here, give the bum a little wag. Awesome. Now keep the elbows pressing down to the floor. As you inhale, start to bend both knees almost like you're going to touch them to the floor. And then as you exhale, re-extend, press the hips up high, chest goes between the shoulders. And then inhale, drop the knees a little bit, maybe gaze towards the floor. And then exhale, press down. Inhale. And exhale. Your speed, your range of motion, 5 more. Last couple. Last one. Awesome. And from your dolphin dog, you can bring the shoulders back over the elbows, walk the feet back a little, and then drop the knees and the pelvis to the floor. And we'll set up for Sphinx pose. So bring the elbows roughly underneath the shoulders, and you can keep the hands together, forearms parallel. And then let the low body be really soft here. So if you want to wiggle the heels a little bit side to side to help release, or a little wiggle through the pelvis, then go for it. And the elbows can stay pressing into the floor just enough to keep the chest proud. Notice if the shoulders are climbing towards the ears. See what you can do to find a little length for the neck. And then maybe close down the eyes. Take a few deep breaths here. Awesome. As you feel ready, take the elbows wide, lower the chest down towards the floor. Maybe stack the hands under the forehead for a moment. And give the hips a little wiggle side to side to release. Awesome. When you're ready, roll onto your right hand side, and you can prop up the head and the neck any way you like here. So if you want to have the elbow bent, then go for it. If you want to rest the head on the bicep, then go for that instead. And then from here, we'll bend the top knee to catch hold of the foot, setting up for a quad stretch. If things feel really wobbly here, feel free to bend the bottom knee a little bit too. And then start to hug the left heel towards the bum. Imagine pressing the left side of the pelvis forward, especially if you find it dipping back. And then breathe into whatever stretch you're feeling here. All right, you can release that left foot and then step it in front of the right knee. Right leg can re-extend. And then flex the right foot so that you can connect that pinky toe edge really into the floor. And then come prop yourself up on that right elbow. And you might take it a little bit closer so that you feel like you really have that strength and that power there. We're going to play with some side plank variations, but listen to your body. If movement within the side plank doesn't work for you, then feel free to take a static shape instead. So really connect that right foot to the floor, that right elbow, forearm to the floor. Left arm can be wherever you like it. I'm going to point it towards the back to begin with. And then with an inhale breath, press both feet down, press the right elbow down, lift the hips. Maybe the top arm goes up and over. And as you exhale, you can come back in, dip in, and then inhale to lift. And exhale to lower. Mindful especially of the right shoulder, a few more. Last couple, your breath, your range of motion. Final round. As you exhale and the hip touches down, roll onto the bum. You can keep that left leg wrapped around. We'll take the left hand behind, swing the right elbow around the left knee any way you like. And take an inhale here, lengthen. And as you exhale, you might twist a little deeper, maybe gaze over that left shoulder. Notice here too, if the shoulders start to climb, maybe a little softness for them. Breathe into your twist. All right. Inhale, breath, unravel, take your counter twist. And we'll head to downward facing dog. So you can stay in your counter twist, press the hands and the feet down, and then make your way to down dog as you like. And we'll pause for about 8 breaths. So if down dog feels like a good rest shape, a good pause shape, then feel free to stay right here, stillness or movement. If you'd rather come to child's pose, then choose that. Or if there's something else you need, then go for it. The last few breaths. So if you're somewhere other than down dog, make your way here as you're ready. And when you feel ready to move on, with an inhale breath, come forward towards plank pose, and then lower all the way down to the belly. Untuck the toes, 3 cobras. Inhale And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Last one. Now inhale, come up to your tabletop, and we'll pause here, bring the knees underneath the hips. And we'll set up like we did that same foundation with the elbows. So forearms parallel, our hands together, elbows roughly underneath the shoulders. And take a moment to really press the forearms into the floor, find a sense of stability here. And when you're ready, step one foot, then the other to the back of the mat for forearm plank. And we won't stay here. The knees stay lifted this time, but of course, if you need something to modify or something static, then go for it. And within inhale breath, start to walk the feet in, lift the pelvis up towards the ceiling. And with your exhale breath, you can walk the feet back out, coming back to your forearm plank. Inhale breath, walk them in as far as you like. And exhale, walk them out. 4 more rounds. Last couple. Last one. Once you return to your forearm plank, drop the knees, then the pelvis, and come to find your Sphinx pose. And check in with your body here, see if there's anything you need to modify this time around. If you're looking for a slightly deeper back bend, also the option to bend the knees, and that will change the sensation a little bit. Awesome. If the feet are lifted, lower them down, and then elbows wide, lower the chest, the forehead, and take a pause for a few breaths, stillness, or movement. Awesome. As you're ready, roll onto your left-hand side. And again, see how you want to support yourself, maybe on the elbow, maybe a little lower. And then from here, we'll bend the top knee to catch the foot for a quad stretch. And again, you might bend the bottom knee a little bit too to help with balance. Heel towards the bum. Notice what the pelvis is doing. If it starts to rock back, see if you can keep that right side of the pelvis pressing forward to target that stretch through the top of the leg. And breathe into it. And as you're ready, gently release the right foot, step it down in front of the left knee, and then bring that left elbow and forearm to the floor, elbow roughly underneath the shoulder, and flex the left foot as well, really big, connect that pinky toe edge to the floor. And then this side may need something different. So again, the option is there to come up and pause in stillness, especially if that's better for the shoulder. Otherwise, if you're flowing with me, take a moment, press both feet into the floor, maybe reach right arm back. Inhale, breath, lift the pelvis, arm up and over. And exhale, breath, dip back in. Inhale up. And exhale down. A strong breath. Last couple. As you exhale and the pelvis comes down, you can roll on up to a seat. Right hand behind you, left arm around the right knee, any way you like. Take a deep inhale, lengthen. As you exhale, twist. And check in with your body, see if you need to change anything or add any props for support. Breathe here. Inhale breath, unravel to center, and take your counter twist. And then thinking about transition to down dog, hands and feet stay down, lift the hips up and back. And as you find your downward facing dog, see where you want to rest for the next 8 or so breaths and choose stillness, movement. You can cat-cow or flow. You can find kneeling position, child's pose, any shape at all. Listen to your body. In whatever shape you are resting in, come and find a kneeling position as you're ready. And from your kneeling position, you can swing the legs around and plant the feet out in front. And really connect the sit bones into the floor. If the tailbone is sensitive, feel free to do this on a soft block or a rolled up blanket. And we'll set for boat pose, so you can walk the feet a little closer still if you like. Hands might be to the knees to begin with. And take a moment to lengthen tailbone to the crown. Keep a slight tuck of the chin in. And you can stay, you can come to tippy toe. You can lift the feet towards parallel. If you want, you can release the arms. If you like, you can close down the eyes. And be with your breath here. And see if you can stay for 5 more breaths, but if you need to lower sooner, then go for it. Embrace the wobbles as they happen. Maybe soften the face. All right, as you're ready, lower the feet back down and give yourself a moment here. If you want to shake out the legs a little, go for it. Awesome. And we'll set up a reverse plank pose, so you can bring your hands down on either side of the hips, maybe a little further back in space. And this shape you can also do with bent knees, so you could keep the feet flat. It tends to be a little less intense for the shoulders, so you may choose that. The bum also doesn't have to leave the floor here, so you can stay, puff up the chest, maybe lift the gaze a little and stay exactly here. Otherwise, if you're coming to reverse plank with me, and take a moment to make sure that the wrists feel comfortable with the shape. You can always point the fingers out, back, or forward, so see what feels best in your body. And press the hands down, press the heels down. With an inhale, lift the body up, lift the belly button up towards the ceiling, maybe the gaze up as well. And then you can stay as long as you like here, maybe up to 8 breaths, but make sure you're breathing as long as you're in the shape. Listen to your body, and you can come down whenever you need to. And while you are here, keep the belly button lifting high and keep the spine long. When you do feel ready to come down, you can lower the bum to the floor and maybe come and find easy pose for a few breaths. If the wrists need a little shake out, go for it. And once you do find your stillness, take a few breaths here. And take a scan of the body and just check in. And before we set up for the next shape, I'm going to talk through coming to down dog, then we'll do a three-legged dog, and then we'll transition that to a side plank. So just a couple things along the way. As we come to the three-legged dog, we're going to lift and stack one of the legs up. So for starters, just make sure that the hands feel relatively even. The tendency is as one leg lifts, maybe the opposite hand tends to kind of bear more of the weight. So see if you can help level that out. We've done quite a bit of work with the shoulders today. And then you can stay in your three-legged dog once we come up. I'm also going to talk through taking it to flip dog. If that's something you've never done before, then maybe you want to watch the video and then decide if you want to do it. Otherwise, you're welcome to join me. You can stop anywhere along the way as well. And then, yeah, that's it. So when you're ready, come to a downward facing dog. Awesome. And then mindful of the space around you, lift the left leg up. And straight away, we'll bend the knee and stack that left hip on top of the right. Now notice what's happening through the hands and shoulders. See if you can level that out. If the right shoulder is dipping way down to the floor, see if maybe you can press the hands a little differently to keep both shoulders pointing down. Now this might be a good place to stay, and you can draw some circles here. You can play with bending and extending the leg, see what you need. If you're coming with me to flip dog, then take your gaze to that bottom right corner of the mat and see about slowly lowering the left foot down. Once the left foot touches down, you can release the left hand, but spin all 10 toes towards the back. So think of almost like a reverse tabletop position. And now with an inhale, open the chest up towards the ceiling as best you can, mindful of the right shoulder. Right hand stays really active here for support. Option to reach the left arm up and over. Now the feet are relatively even, so press them down to the floor, lift the belly button high, and take a deep inhale and deep exhale. One more. Awesome. And take a deep inhale. And now as you exhale, bring the left hand down to the floor. Lift that left leg back up, back to your three-legged dog. So joining anybody who stayed here, now we'll take this to a side plank. So start to hug the left knee in towards the chest and pivot the right foot so that the heel can touch down, right toes point right. And now with an inhale, lift the right arm up towards the ceiling. Straight away, the left knee can touch down if you want more support here. More challenge, think about extending the leg forward. Embrace the wobbles, whatever's touching the floor, stay strong. 3 deep breaths. All right, stay for a last inhale, and then exhale, hand and foot return to the floor, downward facing dog. And take about 8 breaths wherever you need to be. I'm going to come to rock pose. If you want to flow or cat-cow, go for it. Child's pose, down dog, any rest shape. And when you're ready, wherever you are, come in to find your kneeling position, your rock pose. And before we set that up on the second side, just know that the second side may feel completely different. It is asking quite a bit of that supportive shoulder, both for the flip dog and then the other side for the side plank. So if either of those shapes aren't working, don't power through it. Listen to your body. Sometimes even coming out, just giving the shoulders a little roll will make the shape more accessible. And it may just be a shape that's not good for you to do, and that's fine too. When you're ready to set up for the second side, come and find your downward facing dog. And from your down dog, lift the right leg up, and with the knee bent, stack the right hip on top of the left. And then check in here, find that evenness through the shoulders. You can stay, you can draw circles, bend and extend. If you're coming with me towards flip dog, then take your gaze underneath the left armpit. And gazing towards the floor, slowly watch the right foot touch down. And then once it does, spin all 10 toes towards the back of the room. Find that evenness with your feet. Press the left hand down, and with an inhale, unroll the chest up towards the ceiling. Right hand can stay at heart, ceiling, overhead. See what works best for this side. Belly button stays lifting. Take a few deep breaths here. Awesome. Deep inhale. Deep exhale. For the transition, inhale. And exhale, bring the right hand back down and come back to your three-legged dog with the right leg in the air. Now preparing to transition, start to hug the right knee towards the chest, spin the left toes out towards the left, and ground down the right hand. Inhale, lift the left arm up. And again, you can stay. The right knee can lower. More challenge, extend the right leg. Breathe here. Deep inhale, deep exhale. One last inhale. The left hand comes down, downward facing dog. And see where you want to rest. Down dog, tabletop, rock pose, flow, cat-cow. Take about 8 breaths wherever you need. Joining in rock pose when you're ready. I'll give the wrists a little release so you can interlace the hands and start to roll the wrists one direction. And switching it when you're ready. And back to center, and change the cross of the fingers, so shift them all by one, and then press the palms away. Notice the shoulders, if they're up, see if you can soften them, and really press through all sides of the hands. And you can keep pointing forward, or if your shoulders allow, you can start to point up towards the ceiling. And again, notice the shrug muscles, see if you can keep them down. All right, take a last in-breath here and release the hands, let them lower to your sides. And give the hands, the shoulders a little movement. And you can release the legs and give them a little movement too. Awesome. And for the next shape, look around and find your bolster. And we're going to set up for hero pose. I'm going to talk through the reclined version. But listen to your body. You're welcome to stay upright the whole time. And you're also welcome to modify. So I'm going to talk through doing this shape kind of like a kneeling position. But if doing both legs at the same time doesn't work for you, you always have the option to do one at a time. And I'll let you know when we're about halfway through the shape and you can switch over to the second side. So anything that I say about both knees, you can do one at a time. Similar to how we set up for the first pose, our restorative fish pose, we're going to bring the spine down onto the prop. And I suggest having a few others nearby. So for starters, if you are choosing to recline and you know that sometimes the floor feels a little far away, you're welcome to take one or both of your hard blocks to the far end of the bolster, and it'll just make it a little less steep to come down. And I would suggest having your other props nearby. Again, if it was a little steep for the low back on the first one, you may choose to bring a soft block for just in front of your prop as well. So you can come to sit kind of just on the tip of the bolster here. And then for hero pose, the intention is to have the knees a little closer together than what the feet are. So it's a slight internal rotation of the legs. Now this won't work for everybody, so feel free to modify straight away. You could keep them neutral, or you could find the reverse, so taking the knees a little wider than the ankles. And this may feel like a funky enough stretch that you're welcome to stay here the whole time. You don't have to come any further. If you are choosing to come down, then I would suggest doing it in stages, coming down kind of slowly. So to begin with, just take the hands behind you, see what it feels like to lean back. And straight away, if this isn't working for the knees, if you're feeling pinching or anything like that, then I'd suggest not coming further, because those feelings will only get a little bit more intense as you come back. But if you are feeling okay and you're ready to, lean back into the hands. And you can stay here, or maybe walk the hands a little further back. Also the option to bend the elbows and come down onto those. And straight away, notice if the pelvis is starting to lift up, then this is probably as far as you would safely come. But if everything is feeling secure and you're ready to release the head and the neck back, then go for it. Now I brought a hard block along for my head for support. You can do that. You could also let the head hang back, maybe not for the whole time, and just see what feels good for your neck. If it's a pleasant stretch, if it feels beneficial, then keep it. And one option for the arms, we've done quite a bit of work with the shoulders. So one option would be to take the arms by your sides. Also, you could take the arms up overhead, and as long as the arms don't go numb or anything like that, then you should be good. And then there's also the option to take the hands and almost like you're going to walk them up the bolster and keep the elbows bent and somewhat close to the head. So just see if this feels comfortable for you, then go for it. Just adding a little extra strap to the shoulder girdle, the shoulders, the chest, and breathe wherever you are. And we're about halfway through the shape. So if you want to change something in your expression, then go for it. And if you were doing the legs one at a time, then you can switch to the second side when you're ready. Now, if you think you'd benefit from more time in this shape, you're also welcome to stay longer. When the time comes to come out, we'll eventually meet on the back. So if you're in the seated version, you can come on up, remove your bolster, and come out that way. If you're in the reclined version, option to come up. If that feels a little sticky for you, you might explore. It might feel better to stay in this shape and release one leg at a time. And so just listen to your body, take it nice and slow, and you can come out any way you like. In about 8 breaths, we'll meet down on the back. Awesome. Once you do make your way onto your back, you can take the feet wide, rest the knees together, and pause here for a few breaths. Awesome. And if your bolster's nearby, you can line it up on the left side of the mat. We'll take a one knee twist. If doing a two knee twist is better for you, then feel free to choose that. If you're coming with me to the one knee twist, then you can skip the hips or scoot the hips over to the right a few inches. Left leg can extend. And then you can use the left hand to guide the right knee across the body, land it onto your prop. However you're using your props, make sure that they're comfortable. If the right arm wants to extend towards the right, then great. You can also turn the gaze down towards the right. You can release the head back to center first, and then slowly release that right leg. And scoot the hips to midline and over to the left. You can switch the bolster down towards the right, extending the right leg, and then guiding that left knee across the body to land on the bolster. The side might feel different, so again, you can modify any way you like. Maybe left arm to the left and gaze down towards the left. Releasing the head back to center, releasing the left leg as well. hips to midline. See what feels good here. Maybe a little windshield wiper side to side. Awesome. Collect the knees into the chest and give yourself a hug, a rock. And then rock up and down the length of the spine and do this a couple times to massage the back. Stay mindful of the neck. And then when you're ready, build up some momentum, come up towards a seat. If you have your soft block nearby, you can come to sit off the edge of it. And we'll set up butterfly so you can take the feet together, the knees nice and wide. Option to use the bolster a few different ways, and if you need a little more support for the hips or for the knees, you can bring a hard block under either side. So for your bolster now, one option is to take one end to the bolster to the feet, the other end to the forehead, and lean into it, relax into it. If you like to come a little further down, you could also place the bolster into the lap, and maybe this way you're lowering the elbows down onto it. And some of you may have space to lower the whole spine down onto it, so go for that. And if there's something else that you need, then that's great as well. If for any reason folding doesn't feel good, but the leg stretch does, you can also stay upright here. So choose your expression of a butterfly fold. You can use your props any way you like, and settle in. And finding your pain-free expression of a fold. And see if there's anything here that's working or that's striving for something that can soften. Maybe let that go. We'll stay here for about 1 more minute, but listen to your body. If it's asking you to come out sooner, then that's fine too. As you think about exiting the pose, and keep your movements gentle. You might even keep the eyes closed, and gently pressing the hands to the floor to lift yourself up. You can move the bolster, your props to one side, using the hands to guide the knees in together. And from here, any way you like, lower down onto your back, come down nice and slow or quickly. Our next shape will be Shavasana, so you can take a moment to set yourself up. I'm going to suggest using the bolster underneath the knees. It might offer a little more support for the low back. Find any comfortable, symmetrical expression. And you can use the rest of your props any other way you like. Hands can be beside the body, on the body, or overhead. And take a moment to lengthen that back line of the neck. A slight tuck of the chin towards the throat. Take a final scan from the feet to the head to see if there's any part of you that needs a little something here. And then start to soften the breath back to your natural inhale and exhale. Let the body get heavy as you settle yourself in. Gently deepen the breath to reawaken the body. From wherever they are, take one hand to the heart space and the other hand on top. And together we'll take a deep inhale through the nose, a full sigh out the mouth, and again. One more. And then as you like, rolling your way onto either side. And taking a pause for a couple of breaths. With the support of the hands, coming up to find any comfortable seated position, using any of the props you have around for extra support. Cross-legged or any other shape. And take a moment to settle whatever's touching the floor into the ground. Lengthen the spine, a slight tuck of the neck, and softness for the shoulders. For these last few moments of practice, check in with the breath, with your head space, and take a scan of the body. And perhaps connecting the hands in at the heart, bowing the chin towards the chest. And thank you for sharing your breath and your practice. Namaste. Again, my name is Nicholas, and thank you for joining me for Hatha Practice today. If you have any questions, please reach out and enjoy your week.